What's up, B2? Capital G here, checking out even more Spacian support that just got revealed. This is also coming out in Savage Strike. If you're wondering why I didn't include these in yesterday's video where I talked about Junk Connector, it's because at the time that I recorded that video, these cards had not yet been revealed. So now it's looking incredibly suspicious. I did talk about in yesterday's video how it just seemed kind of odd that Konami, for some reason, just, I don't know, they seem to have this Spacian itch and it's coming out of nowhere. I have a complete theory on what this all means, and I'll talk about that in tomorrow's video. But for now, let's go ahead and break down these new Spacian cards. It really seems like, to me, Konami wants Spacians to like desperately be a tier 1 deck, and I'm not gonna lie, some of these cards are very, very powerful. So Spacians have two new fusion monsters, which is pretty interesting because they just got Nebula Neos not too long ago in the Jaden 10. This is Elemental Hero Brave Neos. This is a level 7 warrior fusion monster, 2500 attack and 2000 defense. Something tells me that that is the regular Neos' stat line. I'm pretty sure that that's regular Neos' stat line. The materials are Elemental Hero Neos plus 1 level 4 or lower effect monster. So basically, off the summon of Junk Connector and nothing else, you already have the materials on board to summon this. Seems easy enough. Must be fusion summon. That's not going to be a problem. The deck already had Miracle Contact, but they're also getting a brand new fusion spell in Savage Strike, which we'll talk about in a hot second. The new card is basically like a, it's kind of like Shadow Fusion for the deck. Very good card. This is basically just saying that you can't Monster Reborn or Soul Charge or something like that to bring this card back from the graveyard. Effect number 1, gains 100 attack for each Spacian and hero monster in your graveyard. It's very important that they included heroes in there because it's not just about the OG Neos, but also a lot of Spacian players will play Elemental Hero Stratos. They'll also play Prisma. The reason they play Prisma is because it helps with contact fusing. The reason they play Stratos is because it gets the Prisma. You could summon both of them from your deck from a hero lives, so it's like a 3-card engine package that just works well with the deck. If you get those in the graveyard, it's nice to be able to benefit from that. Effect number 2, when this card destroys a monster by battle, you can add 1 spell/trap card that specifically lists the card name Elemental Hero Neos from your deck to your hand. This not only gets their new Shadow Fusion spell, but it also gets Miracle Contact, which is the best card right now in the TCG to get. I don't know if people will continue running Instant Neo Space. We saw it used in yesterday's duel video. The main reason that you use that card, it's an equip spell. It's not really that impressive, but you use it because, you know, ISOD requires you to run a bunch of equips in your deck, and, you know, it's a card that's kind of decent, but you might want to get it every once and again. But honestly, even if that's dropped from the deck, I still think getting Miracle Contact is going to be really good, or getting their new fusion spell. Overall, Brave Neos, pretty good card. You'll probably run like 1 copy of it because it is so easy to summon. Your normal summon Junk Connector and boom, your materials are already on the field for you to drop the guy. Next up is Elemental Hero Cosmo Neos. This is a level 11 Light Warrior Fusion Monster, 3500 attack, 3000 defense, so it's a pretty beefy boy. Let's see, the materials are Elemental Hero Neos plus 3 Spacian monsters with different attributes. Ooh, that might not be exactly the easiest thing to summon. Must be first special summon by shuffling the above cards you control into the deck. You don't use polymerization. Translation, this is a contact fusion. Effect number 1, if this card is special summoned from the extra deck, you can activate this effect. Your opponent cannot activate effects on the field for the rest of the turn. Okay, like a mini Shockmaster-ish type deal. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this effect's activation. Effect number 2, once returned during the end phase, shuffle this card into the deck, and if you do, destroy all cards your opponent controls. Alright, so to me, this card is similar to Nebula Neos, but I don't really like it as much because I get it. It's, you know, it's kind of like a mini Shockmaster. Your opponent can still activate hand traps, which is actually quite sad. If your opponent just, I don't know, maybe uses something like evenly match at the end of the battle phase and just blows you out, that would be really disappointing. But I get it. It seems like a card that's supposed to close the duel out to essentially make sure a deck like Altergeist can't use any of their cards on the field, and your opponent can't use like a Solemn Strike to respond to the effect. I only see this as kind of a game-ending card. I really think that if you even get to the second effect where you're shuffling it back into the deck, I feel like you kind of messed up. I think that Nebula Neos, not only does it require one less monster, but both of its effects just seem better to me. Like you guys have seen on my channel, Nebula Neos, draw 5, 6, 7. Well, yesterday's video was 23 cards. Nebula Neos seems like it has a far higher ceiling in my opinion. Also, Nebula Neos does banish cards face down. It banishes your cards, but a smart, Neo-Spacian player won't keep that many cards on the field. I think that's like destroying your opponent's field is okay, but so many damn things float in Yu-Gi-Oh today. I honestly don't know if you need to run this card. I feel like Nebula Neos is just better and it requires less materials to actually summon. Next up is that brand new fusion spell. This is Neos Fusion. I like the fact that Konami didn't use the polymerization style artwork that they've used on a billion other fusion spells. They actually went with something completely different. This is a normal spell card. It says special summon from your extra deck one fusion that lists exactly 2 fusion materials, including Elemental Hero Neos, by sending its fusion materials from your hand, deck, or field to the graveyard, ignoring its summoning conditions. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of the turn. Effect number 2, if a fusion you control that lists Elemental Hero Neos as a fusion material would be destroyed by battle or card effect or returned to the extra deck by its own effect, you can banish this card from the graveyard instead. I think it goes without saying that this card is absolutely amazing, and it's definitely going to be a card that Neo-Spacian players play multiples of. First off, it is a 1-card fusion. Even more exciting than that, as soon as I realized that this is a 1-card Rainbow Neos, I almost lost my fucking shit. It's actually been one of my favorite fusion monsters in the game. It was just always so impossibly difficult to summon because it's like, how the fuck you going to get a Neos and a Rainbow Dart Dragon on the field, or a Rainbow Dragon and a Neos? Now you don't have to get either one of them on the field. You just activate your Neos fusion, boom, just have a Rainbow Dart Dragon in your deck or something like that, and you can drop Rainbow Neos. And what I really like about this card, not only do you have a multitude of fusions that you can summon, I know that there are a ton of them. I think the best ones I actually pulled up on YGO Pro. I think the best ones are Marine Neos, Air Neos, which we saw in yesterday's duel. That's one if you're basically losing the duel, your opponent has way more life points, the card just gets better and better. I think that Flare Neos can be pretty decent if you have a bunch of cards on the field. And then Neos Knight it's okay, but it is pretty easy to summon because it just requires a warrior type monster, and the Neos deck is full of warriors. But I think that the fact that you get protection for the monster is also really cool, and the fact that it kind of mitigates their really crappy effect where they all kind of tag themselves back into the deck. So not only are you getting protection from some maybe things like Torrential Tribute, or if your opponent is activating something like a Ghost Ogre, but then you also keep the monsters past that turn where they try to tag themselves in. I think that this is a card where you're going to run multiple copies. Anytime you get a fusion spell that's good, not only when you activate it, but it's good from the graveyard, like Thunder Dragon Fusion, or Thunder Dragon Fusion is like that, where it kind of has that Rhoda ability, you're definitely going to run multiple copies. And then the final card is Neo Space Extension, or I believe its name is also Next, so not exactly sure what its TCG name is going to be. This is a normal trap card that is a hard once per turn. You can only activate 1 card with this card's name per turn. If you control no cards, you can activate this card from your hand, which is absolutely nuts. I'll explain why in a second. It says special summon any number of Neo-Spacian monsters and Elemental Hero Neos with different names from your hand or graveyard in defense position, but their effects are negated. Also, while any of them are face up on the field, you cannot special summon from the extra deck except fusion monsters. I think Konami's going to build that into more and more monsters, because obviously they don't want you summoning 5 Neo-Spacians back and then basically being able to link spam. That would be kind of derpy. So when I first looked at the card Next, I thought that there were 2 things that immediately jumped out at me. The first is it's another one of those cards that let you summon as many monsters as possible. Generally speaking, and I've said it so many times before, these cards end up being exploited. We just saw this with Jump Speeder, and the fact that it used to let you make 3 Omegas in a turn until Konami had to hit Omega. But whether it be something like Soul Charge or Rekindling or Return from the Different Dimension Fusion, especially if you're summoning back from your graveyard or your banished pile, where you're not really using real resources, you're using resources that you've already used, you're just kind of getting them all back for 1 card. Those cards can be incredible because their ceiling is so high. Anytime you're activating 1 card and you're potentially getting 5 monsters out of that 1 card, you're going to be able to do some incredible plays. Now, Konami wisely doesn't let you link spam spam with this, but you can contact fusion, and that doesn't require you to have any other cards because you don't have to use polymerization in that case. The second is that this is technically a hand trap. Some people might not want to believe that, but yes, this actually has applications as a hand trap. Let's just say you're playing against an aggressive deck like Cyber Dragons. They end up blowing up your back row with Rampage Dragon. You have an open field. They're looking for the OTK. You can just activate this during their battle phase from your hand, and you can get like 5 monsters on the field and you can stump them. And I like the fact that those monsters, yeah, their effects are negated, but they don't get banished or anything. You actually permanently keep them. And the fact that Nex is technically like a hand trap-ish type card, it also means that it can be an incredibly powerful card if you're in a top deck war, because now you're talking about a one trap that you can actually top deck and be like, holy crap, this is amazing. I can probably game my opponent now because I don't have to worry about, setting the card. I can just activate it immediately if I don't have any other resources or any other cards on the field. So overall, I like the direction that Neo-Spacians are going in. I think that Nex will be a card that some people will run, some people won't run. I think that everybody's going to run Brave Neos, and I think everyone's going to run Neos Fusion. And then, Cosmo Neos, I don't really like it as much as Nebula Neos because I feel like Nebula Neos has a way higher ceiling. But overall, I think that of these 5 cards, a lot of them are really good. The only kind of stinker is Cosmo Neos, but I think that overall Konami's doing a really good job. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, and turn on that notification bell for daily videos.